What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. We have a brand new online time trial available to us for the next couple of weeks. It's a fairly brutal one taking place at Le Mans using Group 1 cars from pre-2000. The time trial itself is very similar to one that we had in, I believe, 2023, which was the exact same but open to any Group 1 vehicle. This is honestly one of the most brutal, toughest online time trials that we'll probably see all year. So as you can see, we'll have an overview of the time trial itself. It's the 24-hour Le Mans racing circuit using Group 1 race cars. There is 13 more days left to enter the event. Of course, they run for 2 weeks overall. Now, in terms of the finer details, as you can see at the time of going on, the gold target time was a 3 minutes 31.776. The silver was a 3:35.888, and the bronze a 3:46.168. These are some tough target times and definitely not for the faint-hearted. Even myself, I will probably struggle to get the gold time for this one. Of course, the track is 24-hour Le Mans racing circuit with an entry period from the 7th of the 11th 2024 until the 21st of the 11th 2024. Usable tyres and types are racing hards, intermediates and wets. Category is Group 1 and the year is 2000 or less. Wide body prohibited, nitrous and overtake prohibited. BOP and tuning prohibited. It's a high speed BOP. You can use a garage car or an event specified car, and car settings are specified with normal track limits. In terms of penalty settings, it's also going to be for hitting the barrier and cutting the track. As you can see though, taking a look at the early leaderboards, the 787B is pretty much leading the way. This is pretty much par for the course at this point. And even early on, there is some incredibly fast lap times here that will probably get quicker. Again, it's not just me struggling. As you can see, just looking at the early lap times on my friends ranking, there is a lot of people who are struggling to even get into the 3-minute 30s. Overall though, in terms of some tips and tricks, I do recommend booting up a replay to see how the fastest drivers are tackling this. You can also head to the ranking board in game and actually boot up a ghost as well. I recommend getting one as close to you as possible so that you can monitor what it's doing, and as you progress, load up faster and faster ghosts. So let's have a look at the 3 main challenges for this event. So although there is a bunch of different cars you can use for this event, of course it must be pre-2000, there are 3 of them that are standing out. Car number 1 is of course going to be the Mazda 787B. This is nothing new. The 787B seems to stand out in these type of events, and it does seem to be the meta car for this time trial, at least in the early stages. Of course, it's a naturally aspirated rotary engine. It has a great sense of speed and stability. It's incredibly stable. In terms of the car itself, you do get that beautiful rotary scream. It can be a little sketchy on corner exits. You may have noticed from the start of this clip, it did get a little bit out of shape, so you do need to be extra careful putting that throttle in. In terms of at speed, it's incredibly stable. It doesn't move around too much, and you should be able to tackle the high speed sections without issue. It can, however, wobble under heavy braking, so just be aware of that on the newer physics. If you're going to brake incredibly hard, it may move around a lot. Car number 2 is the Nissan R92 CP. Now, in terms of the car itself, this one is a twin turbocharged V8. It has great speed, but it can feel incredibly heavy in comparison to the other 2 vehicles that I'm going to show you. It does have that beautiful roaring V8. It's incredibly stable through high speed corners. I would say through the sort of last section of Le Mans, this feels the best of the 3. It's incredibly stable at speed and incredibly quick as well. And it's also absolutely beautiful under heavy braking. It doesn't suffer from the same issue as the 787B. This is definitely a mid-tier car that you may want to choose if you're not finding yourself getting along with the 787B. However, there is one more car that I would say is absolutely the most beginner friendly of the bunch, that being the Sauber C9. So this one right here is a twin turbocharged V8. It's incredibly stable and user friendly. I would certainly say if you just want to learn the track itself and learn learn where you can make cuts and stuff like that, this is definitely the best of the three for just getting used to the online time trial. It has that brutal V8 sound. It's definitely the easiest of the three to drive. Out of all of these, I did find this to be overall just the nicest and most user-friendly, as mentioned. It's incredibly stable at speed. However, I would say out of the three, it lacks the overall speed. I just found it to be a little bit slower on the straights, not by much, but you may notice it as you go through the event. Braking can feel a little bit weaker than the others as well, so you definitely will need to adjust that when it comes to those hard braking zones at the chicanes. Overall though, this is definitely the most beginner friendly of the three. So to see how it's done, let's look at the current world record at the time of making this video. All credit goes to our Greek driver here. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your name so I don't butcher it. However, the first awkward section is right here before the Dunlop Bridge. You want to get down into first gear and try and make as much of a cut as possible without invalidating your lap. Short shift to second and keep it in second gear up onto the curb, straighten up and put all the power down. Shift up to third for the right hander here, keep it in third and get ready to shift down to second for the left hander. Get as close to the curb as possible but not too much that it spins the car. Do a little cut there and head out onto the main straight. So here we go, keep it in third, another nice little cut all the way out to the curb and then go up the gears as you get ready for the fastest section of the track. So again, work your way up the gears, rev it nice and high with the 787B up to fifth gear and get ready for the next awkward section. The chicanes here are incredibly awkward and require some very precise cuts. Definitely the hardest part of the track, so look for the board there, really heavily braking down into second and get ready for those cuts. So up and across the curb, down to first and short shift to second on the second cut and then get ready to bring it out onto the curb without taking too much to not invalidate your lap time. Up to third gear and exit. Again, these cuts are incredibly complex and it only takes a slight mishap and you are going to invalidate your entire lap. Another tip is to warm up these racing hards by taking a good few laps to get them warmed up and get peak grip into them. Up next is the next chicane. It's very similar to the first, so heavy braking, down the gears and get ready to do the cuts once again, just reversed from the first chicane. Down to first, up to second on the short shift, and then get ready to exit nice and wide, run up the curb but not too much once again, and away you go. If you can master those chicane cuts, which I personally haven't just yet, then honestly you're going to save yourself a ton of time on this lap and be incredibly quick. That is probably where you're going to lose the most times on those double chicanes, so just be aware of that. Then you're going to head to the right and begin to brake very heavy once again, go down the gears, and then you've got the tight right hander here in first gear, short shift to second, a nice exit, and away you go for another very fast section. Now, at this point, it's going to get a little bit sketchy once again, so that point's not too bad, but once you get to here, you've got a very fast section and a very heavy braking section. If you get the braking wrong here, it can go incredibly wrong for your lap. You can either A, end up in the barriers, or just overshoot it and completely mess up your line. So fast for the right hander, down the gears once again, and get ready for this left hander. Here we go, second gear, and then we're going to bring it up nice and wide up towards the curb, but not too much. As you can see, the back end just kicking out there, but keeping it incredibly stable. Up to third, and then once again heavy braking for this right hander. Down to first, short shift to second, and again here we go. So definitely through the double chicanes and through that section there is where you're going to probably lose most of your time. At least for me anyway, that's where I'm losing a ton of time to my sort of normal speed. So you definitely want to try and be as confident as possible through there. This final section isn't too bad. So you want to slow down a lot to third gear, keep it nice and stable up to fourth, and get ready to just take the typical racing line through here. Then get into third gear and keep it towards this curb and keep it to the right, ready to switch back to the left. Keep it in third gear to keep the car nice and stable and get ready to exit for the final few chicanes. Now this point here can be incredibly awkward. However, you look for the pit stop line, get heavy on the brakes, keep it in third and get ready to shift down to second. Here we go, nice few cuts here. Now just be aware you can cut them, but taking too much will invalidate your lap time or make the car incredibly unstable. There we go. Massive thank you to our Greek driver for that world record lap. Now, in terms of this overall online time trial, it is certainly the most brutal one I've seen in a while. You will probably find if you're not confident enough and not being fast enough that you will seem way off the gold times. That is because the fastest drivers here are incredibly quick, and again taking advantage of those cuts, not to invalidate their lap time, but of course kind of chop off as much time as possible whilst maintaining the speed here. And that's what it's all about. Honestly, just keep practicing over the next couple of weeks, as that gold time is probably going to get only quicker, and again try and grow your confidence. You have a choice of cars here. Again, the 787B seems to be the meta. However, if that's not agreeing with you, you also have the R92CP and of course the Sauber C9, which work absolutely great as well. So if you're certainly struggling with this online time trial, definitely boot yourself up a Ghost close enough to your time that you can just see what they're doing in front of you, and of course eventually catch it. Definitely look up some of the world's fastest replays. This is one of the best ways you can learn some driving techniques in this game, and of course just stick at it. You've got 2 weeks to do it, and of course the gold time will probably get quicker, but the more you grow the confidence, the more you're going to do. Huge thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen now. If you do want to join, it is massively appreciated, and I will see you tomorrow for the weekly challenges update. Take care guys, peace.